Black people. Do you ever wonder why it was prohibited for enslaved black people to read? Well, here's why. The deep, dark, and sinister truth behind why enslaved black people in America were forbidden to read was based on control. Control over the mind, body, history, and future. Here's the layered reality. 1. Reading was a superpower, and power threatens oppression. Literacy gives access to information, critical thinking, and the ability to question authority. Enslavers understood that if black people could read, they could read abolitionist writings, laws, or religious texts that contradicted the idea of slavery. They could forge passes, plan escapes, or write their own narratives. They would begin to see themselves not as property, but as human beings with rights, ideas, and dreams. 2. Reading breaks psychological chains. Illiteracy wasn't just about keeping people uneducated, it was about controlling their self-concept. By keeping black people in the dark, white supremacists sought to cut them off from true knowledge of self, their original cultures, or global black achievements. Prevent a collective racial consciousness from forming. Destroy any sense of legacy, lineage, or historical identity. This is why it was illegal in many southern states to teach enslaved people to read, punishable by fines, lashes, or imprisonment, even for white people who tried to teach them. 3. Religion was weaponized, and reading would disarm that. Enslavers often used the Bible to justify slavery, but they only allowed selective readings, like servants, obey your masters. If enslaved people learned to read the full Bible or other texts, they'd see contradictions and begin to resist both spiritually and physically. Literacy would allow them to find stories of liberation, like the Seminole Wars, the German Coast Uprising, and the Haitian Revolution, narratives that empowered resistance movements. 4. Generational damage was intentional. By ensuring black people couldn't read, the system successfully severed educational continuity across generations. It created a legacy of economic dependency and made it easier to exploit them after emancipation through things like sharecropping contracts, voter suppression laws, and prison labor, since they couldn't read the terms. The ban on literacy wasn't about ignorance. It was about maintaining a racial caste system built on domination, dehumanization, fear of uprising, and suppressing the true knowledge of self. It is vitally important for black people to read today, now more than ever, because reading is not just about knowledge. It is a superpower that promotes survival, healing, and generational liberation. Here are several reasons why. 1. Reading reclaims what was stolen. For centuries, black people were systematically denied literacy. Reclaiming that right is an act of resistance. It allows black people to recover stolen history and cultural memory, understand how systems of oppression evolved and how to dismantle them. Also, reconnect with powerful spiritual philosophies, traditions, and ancestral wisdom. 2. Reading protects us from manipulation. In a world saturated with misinformation, especially online, literacy equips black people to discern truth from propaganda, whether about politics, health, or history. Understand the fine print. Laws, contracts, voting rights, school policies, food labels, etc. question systems that profit from black pain, like Big Pharma, the prison industrial complex, or predatory lenders. 3. Reading is mental nutrition. Just as the wrong food destroys the body, the lack of intellectual nourishment weakens the mind. Reading expands critical thinking and creativity, self-esteem and confidence, as well as emotional intelligence and empathy. Books expose the fact that black people are the true creators of civilization and innovation. Books introduce new futures, models of success, and lost ways of living. 4. Reading is self-defense. From knowing your legal rights during a traffic stop to understanding how school systems track black children into failure to identifying food ingredients that are killing us, reading is a weapon of self-defense in a world not designed for black survival. 5. Reading builds collective power. A well-read black community is a strategic, organized, and self-sufficient community. When black people read and share that knowledge, it leads to economic empowerment like the Black Wall Streets of Rosewood, Florida, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Community-led health solutions like Freedom House Ambulance Service in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. and stronger schools, families, and political movements like the Black Panther Party. There was a time in this country when a black person could be beaten, mutilated, or killed for learning to read. That wasn't by accident, it was by design. They knew that literacy meant liberation. That reading would awaken the mind, stir the spirit, and make us impossible to control. So when you pick up how to successfully kill the Negro through their diet, you're not just reading a book. You're honoring every ancestor who risked their life for the power you now hold in your hands. This book reveals how black people have been and are still being targeted and manipulated. But knowledge is the cure. Read it. Because silence is what they want. Read it. Because ignorance is what they fed us. Read it. Because your life, legacy, and future generations depends on it. Order your copy today. Available as an ebook or paperback on Amazon.